Welcome to the Predictive Playbook for Thursday, April 15th. And yes, it is not tax day, thank goodness. So it's even better than that. You get to talk, you get to hear ideas between myself and Rob Veno of Rob Veno Sports. You can find him, like it says on his partition there, at Rob Veno Sports on Twitter. Also going to be found at Wager Talk, which is probably it is the best site to go to for your betting needs, along with sportsmemo.com. Welcome to the show, Rob. How was your Wednesday night?
It was good. Well, NBA was a split, John, 2-2. Got to that 2-2 mark late with the Washington Wizards -2. That's actually a game that we discussed here on the show yesterday with Hakeem Profit. The Wizards, against Sacramento, and it was really a wire-to-wire job. It was never close, laying 2 points. I think the closest Sacramento got that I can remember was 8. So fairly comfortable win there to even out the day. So that was good. But the NBA overall has been great all year long. So we'll take the even day, break even, and try and come back and get a little bit here tonight. Spent some time watching the Nets 76ers, of course. The news today, LaMarcus Aldridge, right, retiring from the NBA. Pretty sad. You would have never known. Last night, you just think they're resting a guy, but with good reason. Certainly, you hope that he's going to be okay. And no sense to play basketball anymore. He's certainly made his mark on the statistical records with the San Antonio Spurs and, financially. So he's in pretty good shape here. We got another story here in the NBA, just broke this afternoon, of the coronavirus ripping right through the Chicago Bulls. Zach LaVine will miss a bunch of games, and the team may not be able to play tomorrow night. They had to actually stop their practice in the middle for health and safety protocols. So I guess you don't want to be in Chicago right now because it's running through the Cubs and it's running through the Bulls. So it just reminds us, John, it's still here as we get vaccinated one by one and hopefully get beyond this. But it's still here in the world of sports. They have found ways to, without just shutting down seasons, now get on through and continue to play games. So hopefully the Bulls, hopefully everybody's okay there and they'll be able to get back to playing basketball. We'll see what happens overnight and tomorrow morning to see if they're going to play tomorrow.
Yeah, that is big news. As you know, I actually traveled from Friday to Monday just to see family down in Florida, and I have to admit, it felt really good to get on a jet and go somewhere. But at the same time, I haven't gotten the vaccine yet, even though I'm A1. And you and I both know, that Pennsylvania is a little bit behind the schedule, I think. But it makes you even more careful when you're in situations where, the social aspect of it's not being followed to a T. And Florida is one of those states that's kind of wide open. But, fortunately where we were, especially in the hotel, everybody was wearing a mask. Especially in the elevators. I mean, that's where it really gets a little tight. But maybe I'm too optimistic, but I'm hoping and praying that by NFL start to the season will be full stadiums, and even if they are able to do the vaccination passport project that England started doing, where you would actually have another ID card that would be proof positive that you took the vaccine and have been given it. And I think that would work, but I don't know how you distribute that to 350 million people in a matter of months, with any degree of accuracy too. But anyway, a little off the track there. But last night, you and I were excited to know that ESPN had a live in-game sports betting show for the first time, and. Your son actually was one of the members of the production unit, which is very cool. And David Behrman is one of my guests during the week on Tuesdays for the PGA, and he's just raking in. If he's betting any sum of money at all on his picks, he's going to own ESPN pretty soon. But that show was pretty cool. It just gives you a totally different flavor. You're not listening to the announcers say, the guy made a shot. So and so now has, whatever. It's just a totally different tone. It's more like, okay, the score now, the spread is 8. The score margin right now is 12. And the same thing for the totals, and then the prop bets too. So the way they did it with, Kendrick Perkins, I believe, was one of the guests giving picks before the game started, we call it pre-flop. And I just thought it was exceptionally well done, and it's definitely the wave of the future. So
I would say, John, real quick, that in watching that, you get an idea of what it's like to be sitting in a Las Vegas sports book while games are going on. End of first quarter, one of the guys on set has a ticket with the Sixers -3, and the score is 32-29, and the Sixers have the ball last, and you can feel that's how people sweat them out in the casinos or at home a lot of times now, because we can so readily open accounts and wager through the computer. But it's not just the end game result, it's the first quarter result, it's the player props results. You heard when Ben Simmons threw up a 3 to end the quarter, that was like I forget what it was, 100-1 or
Yep.
whatever it was. Jeff Green, the Jeff Green total, I think, was an interesting back and forth. Kendrick Perkins congratulating the ESPN guy on set. Oh, you're going to get your Jeff Green total. He's already got so many points. And the guy comes back with the great Bronx Tale mush. Don't give me the mush. He hasn't gotten there yet. So, it had a lot of the feeling that runs through us as bettors throughout the game. I think at the end of the first quarter, I think it was Joe Fortenboss saying, "Oh my God, that's the worst possession I ever seen," when it wound up as a 3-pointer by Korkmaz that was way off. And that's how gamblers respond to everything. If it doesn't go their way, that's the worst thing I've ever seen. That's the worst thing I've ever seen. So it was that respect. It just gives you a totally different perspective on watching a game rather than just watching straightforward coverage of a game as a fan, where the enjoyment is different on both sides. It's real on both sides, and it's great on both sides, but they're just different types of enjoyment or sorrow, I guess, if it doesn't go your way. If you're watching your favorite team and they lose, you're not happy. If you wager and you lose, you're not happy either.
It's quite true. Yeah, it's like I said, it's definitely the wave of the future, and you can almost split the screens and be able to flip back and forth, for the type of dialogue you want.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're going to have two choices, and it's probably a great way for beginning bettors to, kind of paper trade. That means you're not really putting the money up, but you're pretending to execute the bets. And then you get some experience doing that. Now, it doesn't include the emotion of watching your account go down or increase in value, but it does give you good, solid experience. So I encourage people who are just starting out. There's nothing wrong with doing that to get your feet wet. It's better than losing, a couple grand because you hadn't learned the ropes yet.
Right, absolutely.
That's why I don't get in boxing rings, for example, because I know nothing about how to box. So why would I get in a boxing ring? Because I would get slammed. It's common sense. Here's a positive. Remember at the end of the show yesterday. I guess it's pronounced what? Maxon Record there. He wanted to know, I think it was Paul Casey it was Morikawa. And I said Morikawa. So I haven't seen what happened, but I guess we know that Morikawa beat Cantlay. And Cantlay, there's something funky with him. He is definitely not playing well right now. And even the ball striking, he's an elite ball striker. And even the first 2 rounds at the Masters was like, is this a new guy on the tour here that we don't know? As he was spraying it all over the place, and you might have heard too, McIlroy actually hit a shot that hit his dad. That was standing there watching. So it bounced and hit him in the leg. It wasn't any injury, but they showed the replay of that situation. So you can hear the caddy say, I think that just hit your dad. So
Yeah.
those two guys are big names, and they didn't make the cut. And it's kind of Cantley has all the talent in the world to win a major, so it doesn't take these guys long to figure it out. But why don't we move on to the NBA here? And let's start with the NBA angle of the day, which I happened to be watching you guys today on the NBA Wager Talk show, and I love Joe Ranieri saying, "Oh my God, you're going to start me out with this crap again." So for those that were in the chat room, I was in there and I was praising you and Tony and Ski and being a little rough on Joe, especially when he yelled at Tony for misbehavior and his typing. And then Tony was sitting too high. And, his forehead was sticking up through the top of the screen. He got reprimanded for that. It was almost like Tony was like the fifth grade student there for a little bit. It was pretty damn funny. But I'm going to share the screen here, and then we'll take a look at this thing. Let's see. All right, so here it is. We're going to bet on road favorites. We're going to bet on the road favorite is coming off a win of 20 or more points. The host is coming off 3 straight games in which they and their opponent each scored 100 or more points in the game. Over the past 5 seasons, 58-13 straight up, 47-22-2. For 68% winning bets, this tells you to bet on the Milwaukee Bucks minus the points over the Atlanta Hawks. And I believe what's interesting in this, Rob, is Giannis in or out?
I still see questionable, John. Now, the 5:30 report will be up in about 15 minutes from the NBA, the official report. But as of now, I still see a questionable next to his name. So we're not quite sure if we're going to have Giannis or not. Now, sometimes the line can be the great indicator. However, in this case, there's so many injuries on both sides, especially to the star players, because Trae Young is questionable on the other side of the equation here. So we've seen the game move from -5.5 opener down to 4, which, reading between the lines would say Giannis is probably not going to play. That's why the line has gone down. But I'm just not quite sure yet that is actually, it hasn't been announced officially. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and I will say this because it was asked on another show where I presented this today, and this package of systems that I put together is 25 betting systems that are broad. In other words, it uses all the parameters that you would find in a box score, and then some. So I'm not creating 25 where 20 of them are all predicated on scoring average, for example. So it spreads the risk out. And over the last 5 seasons, these 25 have combined for a 63% against the spread record. And I believe it's a 38% ROI. So that's a history lesson. There's no guarantee that that's going to happen again. But they do take in consideration sometimes whether a player plays. So if I have a betting line of play on favorites of 3.5 to 9.5, which you've seen on previous shows, and Giannis isn't playing, all of a sudden the line dives down to 2, say, hypothetically, then that system is not valid anymore. Conversely, if we had a play on the Atlanta Hawks needing to be, in a betting line between 3.5 on either side of pick, 3.5 dog, 3.5 favorite, that too would come into play with players not playing or players then playing. So I think in some ways it does take in consideration the unknown of whether a player plays, and over the long term, these betting systems are what they are. There's 71 in this particular. I'm sorry, 81. No, 71 games that have been played by this system over the last 5 seasons. So there's got to be times in those 71 games where there was an unknown certainty like we have tonight.
Yeah, and I was saying before, John, that when you see the line go down like that, you would assume that Giannis is going to be out. It could also mean that Trey Young is in. We really don't know
Yep.
because they're both still listed as questionable. Um, Either way, but yeah, I mean, the larger the sample size, obviously, the stronger the trend becomes. And 71 in 5 years is still 12, 14 instances a year in the NBA, which is a fairly decent amount in my estimation, at least. So, one that we'll see if it comes through again tonight with the Milwaukee side.
Yeah, and I think like I said, it's I literally wake up and I press a button and it tells me what games have a system on them for the show. And I think there's only been we've been doing it for 2 months now, I guess, on the show
Mm-hmm.
with Wager Talk. So of those 2 months, Monday through Fridays, there's only been I think 3 times where there was two systems, and there's only been twice where there's been no system on a given day. So again, that tells me that I have these things spread out well enough so that I don't get caught with 7 systems on one day.
Right.
That's not a portfolio then. That's just you know the same system 7 times over. But I also heard Russell Westbrook had another triple double, so I plugged this in, and it is interesting that the under is 62% in the next game. So I believe that is tomorrow night actually against the Pelicans. They're home against the Pelicans, I believe, tomorrow, right, Rob? And the line is
Yeah.
pick.
Yeah. The line is.
So yeah, I thought this was worthy enough to bring up too, with the what happens with a Russell Westbrook triple double after he has one, and I think that makes sense that the scoring goes down because he's one of the rare guys I think in the NBA that has ever had back to back and really back to back to back to back triple doubles. But he's one guy too. So that would be an under bet tomorrow night, and then I took the luxury of doing this as a promotion for you, Rob. This
All
is
right.
Rob's promo over there at Wager Talk, and you can see the records,
Oh,
and you can see they're solid, very very good. So if you take the wt.buzz/rv and put that in your browser, it'll take you right to Rob's Wager Talk page where he has all his plays that you can purchase and the subscriptions. And you know, I can't force you to do it like Joe Ranieri forces Tony not typing anymore on the shows, but I can definitely be a pest and keep saying it every single day until you go and do it.
much appreciated.
So yeah, it's a good picture and everything.
Yeah.
And I don't think Tony is in the studio yet, is he? I
He
actually
might
can't
be.
see.
He might be actually writing. I will not type during the show 500 times. I'm not sure.
Oh,
Um,
I think he's no, no, he's not in. He's not in. I thought it was, but we'll go
He
back
gets
to the
he
show
gets
here. I thought he
called
was.
upon to do a lot of stuff, Tony. He
Yep.
gets called upon to and pulled in a lot of different directions. John, I just want to say real quick because when you pulled up the response from the viewer on the golf matchup last night on Twitter, I did also get a response from a guy who watched the show yesterday and said that he tailed on the Philadelphia Brooklyn game over. Remember, we spent a lot of time
Yeah.
talking about that game
Yep.
possibly going over. He said, I saw you guys on the show and heard you talking about this, and I tailed, and it wound up winning. And it's the third time this season, just to show. We were trying to make the point that there's quite a few, especially NBA. I don't see it in other sports as much as I see it in NBA, John. Overreaction to injury. And I think the point I was trying to get across yesterday was that those two teams had met two previous times with injuries, with the Nets having decimated lineups, and still those games were able to go over the total. And yet, still yesterday, for a third time, um, they bet that game down, 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 down. And sure enough, I mean, it was a fairly easy over, right? I think the number was
Oh yeah.
225 and a half, and they almost got to 240
Yep.
in that contest. So, these injury reactions and overreactions have been a pretty good way to go as far as fading is concerned this year to make some money because and it's solid money too, John. It's not like at 10:30 a.m. the public is out there betting their $50. This is money that just sees an injury and reacts very strongly with the injury. And there's been so many instances this year where if you just fade that stuff, you wind up pocketing some cash and cashing some tickets. That was good last
Yeah, I
night. Glad
agree.
to see a viewer that picked that up while watching our show yesterday, as well as the golf matchup.
And then I think there was a game we didn't have anything on it, but it was the Mavericks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was the Mavericks, right? Where the 3-pointer at the end actually won the game because Grayson missed 2 foul shots. Who is a 90% free throw shooter,
Right. Absolutely.
and that actually went. That shot put it over the total. So that was pretty bad beat for those people that were betting under because that no question the game should have gone under, but then you have that fluke situation and wow.
At ESPN, had they continued their daily wager broadcast of the show through that Dallas game, you would have seen some really good live reactions to that shot going through, I'm sure, from the guys in the studio who might have had a little bit of action on that. But yeah, Luka comes through with a shot that I know that Joe Ranieri, when we were on earlier today, was saying when he first saw it, he didn't think that Doncic even believed that he made the shot, that he thought that
Yeah.
maybe he had missed the shot. And watching it live, John, I have to admit, I didn't think it was a three-pointer at first because he landed so far inside the three-point arc, but he released outside the three-point arc, and that's all that really counts. So that was it. And somebody else had said that if you were live in-game betting with, I think, 55 seconds left, Dallas was actually plus 600 to win that game because it was 112-107, and they come back and they win that game. So it reminded me of when we were on live and we had the Ohio State
Oral Roberts.
Yeah, Ohio State Oral Roberts, right? And you caught that plus 1,200 or whatever it was, crazy number.
I think it was 675. I think is what it was. But the lesson learned though was that I then tweeted it, and the betting gods saw it, and I went 0-3 the next day in the tournament. So you just don't do that.
Yeah, you have to stay humble in this business.
Yeah, I just was more excited about. Can you believe this? This is what in-game betting can do for you.
Yeah.
You know. And then I just have this little chart over here. We're mentioning Joe Ranieri's name too much, but I woke up this morning and lo and behold, one of the first tweets I saw was his about the second no-hitter in April. Mm-hmm. And his question was, do we have time to get a third? So what do? I go to the database and pull it up. And yes, we do. It's happened twice since 2004, in June of 2012 and August of 2015. And the starter column, which is column E, is the pitcher who threw the no-hitter. So there hasn't been any before, at least back to 2004. And I doubt whether there is. But, I'll say that for another time. But I thought that was a pretty good question. And there actually was a no-hitter where the team lost 1-0, and that was in the last 10 years. I just can't remember who it was, but I remember the team that lost was the Angels. So I thought that was pretty interesting too. As I thought the days of a no-hitter not winning was like relegated to prior to 1900.
Yeah, Harvey Haddix.
Yeah. Well, he had multiple ones, I think.
For those who watched it last night, what a shame on losing the perfect game for Carlos Rodon, right? He throws a slider that hit a batter in the foot in an 8-0 game. But he had stuff last night, boy. I mean, for those who and I don't follow college baseball, John. It gets to the College World Series and ESPN broadcasts it, and there are odds on it, and I end up watching, that whole deal in Omaha. But that's where I learned first about Carlos Rodon from NC State. I have a nephew who actually um, was at NC State at the time when Rodon was there, and actually was in a high school league where Rodon was in. But he throws the ball last night 99 miles an hour in the ninth inning, and it looks effortless now
Oh,
that
it
he's
does.
healthy again. So for the White Sox with Lucas Giolito and Carlos Rodon and arms like Michael Kopech and company, I just don't think where they are in the standings right now is the place where they'll end up. They've got better arms. The bullpen again. I think the night before last was responsible for their sixth loss of the season. So the acquisition of Liam Hendricks hasn't worked out as of yet. But as we like to remind people all the time, we're only 10 games into the Major League Baseball season. And it's funny, John, the reaction to let's say a 3-7 run to start the season. And oh my God, Chicken Little, the sky is falling because it's 3-7. If you take that same 3-7 and place it in the third week of July, nobody even notices it, because there's so many games played. So right now, you can't really overreact to too much. There's some things you have to take away, or there's some things you can take away for future betting purposes. But some of these teams right now, I don't believe are where they'll find their way in the standings. A team like the San Francisco Giants, which 3 days ago I heard somebody say, oh my God, 6 months from now they're going to be right in contention with San Diego and Los Angeles because they have so much money to spend, or 10 months from now when the free agency period comes up, and how San Francisco is going to make this dramatic climb to be on the same level as the Dodgers and the Padres. And 3 days later, they're, I think, a 7-5 or a 6-5 team. So,
Yep.
you just have to let these things play out and not overreact too much as a baseball bettor.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So we always say it's a marathon. Yeah, the sprint is probably the NFL college football, but 162 games. There's 30 teams. A lot of games to pick, and that also means you don't have to force one just to have the action. Even more reason not to. But we were looking at some of the baseball for tonight too.
Yeah,
And
limited this evening. It's a Thursday. It was a big day, baseball Thursday. There's a couple left to go, though, if you want to talk about them a little bit.
yeah, why don't we do that? And it's really, unless you have an NBA game you want to mention other than the Bucks and Hawks one that we already did, but we could pick a MLB game here to kind of put a finale on today's show, and then tomorrow we're going to be probably a full house. It's possible that we could have 5 or 6 in this show, so I guess the squares are going to get smaller, which Tony will be able to type peacefully because I don't yell at any of you guys, and we're going to have our we're going to have our beer with us too.
And
it's Friday.
Grand piano will be in full vision for us.
Yep. I still think we ought to record like me playing it in the background, and then next time I get out to L.A. But in terms of the baseball here, we do have. Let's see, what do we have going here? We have the Detroit Oakland game. Skubal and Minaya. Manaya's pitching for Oakland, both lefties. There is a crossover going on here. And Ski Profit is just dropping in here.
What up, fellas? How y'all doing?
You must have heard us talking about that piano.
Yeah, your ears must be ringing because we were talking about your piano.
Oh, yeah?
Like 10 seconds ago.
It's nice that we have it in the frame there. I see it down there.
Yeah, I hope Tony's emotional state isn't too bad after getting yelled at on the NBA show all day. I think we just lost Ski.
Oh, he dropped out.
Yeah, he might have.
For those
he'll be back.
For those who are watching this show and have never seen the Thursday edition of NBA Tip-Off over at Wager Talk, where it's myself, Ski Profit, and Tony Finn. The three of us were the original cast of that show, and for us, it's a lot of fun to do that show with us three as guests and with Joe as the host. So some of the stuff you see between Joe and Tony has been going on forever. It's just part of the show, but it is a little tough sometimes, John, when you hear Tony deep breathing into your headsets during the show, and he's typing like a fiend, and Joe obviously, you know, dramatizes it a little bit, but that's just the deal that goes on. It's a pretty fun show to do, to say the least, because I think when we arrive on that set each day, we know something's going to happen that's going to make us laugh, whether it be Tony or Joe or something. Usually it's just me and Ski doing the laughing and those two making us laugh. That's what it really amounts to.
I was watching today a little bit. I missed the live version of that NBA betting system, but then I scrolled back and I saw that it was really early in the show. It's usually right in the middle. And what does Joe say? Oh my God, you're not going to make me do this first, are you? In so many words. And I actually started laughing out loud to myself, and there's nobody around. But it is a riot, and if you haven't seen it, you got to go see it. And I do try to, well, I guess I retweet it. Well, not retweet, I share it on YouTube. That little share icon, and then that goes to a tweet, and it kind of gets the word out. But it's also a good show for getting free bets and free picks, and from these two guys, and then Tony. And I was saying, Ski, after Tony got yelled at not once, not twice, but three times, and I was waiting for Joe to say, "Now, Tony, you got to go in the corner and sit there for 17 minutes and write out 50 times I will not type on my show," something like that. So I know he's yeah. Yeah, he probably got, we know he got called to do something else. So that's not the case. But really, really hysterical. I mean, it's just great. So we're looking at a baseball game here, Ski, and I'm glad you stopped in. I have to get to somewhere by 6 o'clock tonight, so unfortunately we'll do this baseball, and then we'll have you do a best bet. And then I think that'll be it for tonight. But remember, tomorrow, you have to have somebody playing the piano, and you have to have a beverage in your hand.
I was waiting. I didn't know if the beverages were finished already.
We postponed it because we don't want to. Two of us don't want to drink alone.
I got you.
All right, so we're looking at Detroit, Oakland, and it's Manaya. There's a little bit of a crossover.
That's perfect.
So you like Oakland?
Well, I do like Oakland, and I have action on this game too. Pretty much, I was looking at let me grab my sheet here. Pretty much what I looked at in this game. For one, the A's are 6th OPS versus left-handed pitchers, and the Tigers are 30th. And I think I trust Manea more than I trust the other guy for Detroit. And Detroit's lineup isn't that great to me. So I looked at the two performances that they both had, and Manea's performances, one versus the Astros wasn't good. The next one versus the Astros was a lot better. The two for the other guy, I can't say his name, or I don't know how to say his name. Scubble.
I think.
Okay. Yeah, the two performances for him versus the Indians, I mean, he had one good and one bad where he gave up 6 runs in, I think, 4 innings. And that shouldn't happen versus the Indians to me. I don't think the Indians lineup is that strong. So I'm going with the A's on the first 5. I was debating between that or taking them full game minus a run and a half. But they're at home and they bat last, or they're not going to get a chance to bat in the 9th. So I took the first 5.
Yeah, I'm glad you're on my side. And Rob, you have any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, a couple of things. I mean, Ski hit on the fact that versus left-handed pitching, especially Detroit, just not that good. 176 batting average, I think 276 OPS. But the Detroit bullpen also, guys, is far more fatigued than the Oakland bullpen. Oakland's bullpen had the entire day off yesterday, while Detroit's worked. And a couple of guys have worked back-to-back days. And when you start minusing guys from a bullpen like Detroit's, just for those watching who might not know what I'm referring to, generally speaking in baseball, when you're handicapping bullpens, if guys have thrown back-to-back days, they're generally not coming back for a third straight day, especially if the pitch counts for the
Yep.
2 days prior are, let's say, 25 pitches or more. Then you're not going to see that guy for a third day. He's going to get rested, and it shortens your bullpen. So Detroit late innings here could be in a little bit of trouble, too, with a shorter bullpen. I kind of like Sean Manaea here. Oakland's offense has come to life. They were, I think, what were they, like 0-5 to start the season? And since then, the offense has really taken off. Of course, they played Arizona for 3 games, and the hitting background in Arizona is generally regarded as one of the best in Major League Baseball. That big black facade out in center field. Guys can pick the ball up real well. But I could see that. I could totally see Sean Manaea in Oakland playing real good ball right now. One guy to look out for, I don't know if you guys have noticed, and I kind of stumbled upon it first game of the year. I'm watching MLB Network, and Harold Reynolds is doing a breakdown of Akil Baddoo for the Detroit Tigers. And he's now got 4 home runs. This is a rookie, his first season with Detroit. He's got 4 home runs in the first 7 games. Terrific throwing arm, fast on the bases. Been a real revelation for the Tigers. As you know, they picked up a few wins that I don't think people would have expected early on, and some good prices to go with it. Against Houston, they were a major dog in all of those games, and they won at least 2 of them. So tonight, though, could be a different story. Ball doesn't really travel in Oakland at night. And like I say, bullpens are usually a big factor to me if you're going to play 5-inning or full game. If you're coming down to that decision and you've got a bullpen that's going to be fatigued, you can go against them. So Detroit does fit that bill of what I would say a semi. I mean, it's only April. I don't want to make it sound like they're so worn out. They've thrown all year long. But they'll be shorthanded in the bullpen tonight.
Yeah, I love the analysis.
That kind of was what I was thinking about. I looked at both bullpen numbers in general, and it looked like they're both pretty bad. But hearing you talk makes me think I can like the A's full game too.
Yeah, they're in a better situation, obviously. They've got some good live arms, and with the day off yesterday, you would expect back home in that park. And they're just playing good baseball, right? Not that Detroit isn't, because they're actually playing good baseball too. But when deciphering between the two, you'd rather have the Oakland bullpen tonight. Scooble's not going to go much more than 5, right? And Sean Manaea sometimes can run his pitch count too high to get beyond 5. So if you're going to play full, you have to look at what's going to come in innings 6 through 9. And I just think that Oakland has a pretty distinct advantage innings 6 through 9 in that game.
What do you think about the total? I'm leaning over because of what you just said. That neither pitcher's probably going to go 6 and allow 3 for a quality start.
I'm trying to look at the current number, John, on that. What do you show?
I have 8. Westgate, I have 8.5 under -120. So over 8.5 would have to be plus 100 or plus 105, I guess, maybe even 110.
Yeah, the only problem I could see with that, and Ski brought it up early when he talked about both teams having poor OPS against left-handed pitching. Detroit's numbers against left-handed pitching are not good to start the season. Now it's give you the sample size here.
Yeah, that's good point.
Small sample size. Hey, how about this for distortion, guys? Detroit has had 342 at-bats against righties and 51 against lefties. Now their numbers are miserable in those 51 at-bats, but they've seen nothing but right-handed pitching all season long, whereas the A's, real quick, I'll grab you some numbers just to compare it to. The A's versus lefties are hitting 270. And there's a margin there, guys. They're 270 versus lefties and only 194 versus righties. So Oakland's certainly liking left-handed pitching better. That would go along with, what they've been the last couple of years. They've been a really good team against lefties. But again, distorted. 309 at-bats against righties, only 89 against the left-handers. So early season numbers, but again, an edge for Oakland. If you like Oakland, there's another edge. They're hitting lefties far better than Detroit is.
Real good stuff. I love the bullpen analysis too, because that's so important. We get into June, and especially July and August, the hot summer months.
Yeah.
The boys of summer. That's where that really can pay off on winning more bets than you lose for sure.
So I think I'm going to double up on that game. I took the first five; it was minus 115, but that run line is plus 120. So I think I may double dip there. And I don't know if you guys already talked about the Phoenix and Sacramento game, but I've been thinking
No,
about doing that all day too.
There's too many ways to bet that game, right?
Yeah, too many to just pick one.
let me see where
Yeah.
the odds are here for that one. On the
Yeah, we
wager
hit that
talk.
one on NBA
Go-
tip-off a little bit, John, where Phoenix has some really good numbers first half. Sacramento has some really good totals over numbers first half. Obviously, full game the same way, and there's just so many ways, half and full game to bet that thing. Sometimes it gets too confusing. Except when I get in that spot, I wind up betting them all and hoping I get more winners than losers. But some guys don't want to do that because they don't want to go winless.
I think I would trust the.
Yeah, it's a situation you might be able to trust here. So
I think I would trust the first half the most, and
On
the
Phoenix.
full game. Yeah, the full game makes me nervous just because I feel like everybody's betting Phoenix full game.
Well, it's
and I
gone from
think
10 to 12 and a half.
I'll say this real quick, guys. On the tip-off show today, I had a number. Phoenix last 9 games, they're 8-1 against the number first half. And John, I compared them to Gonzaga during the college basketball season. Gonzaga was just blowing people out by halftime, just disposing of them quick and moving on and finish out the second half. It's kind of what Phoenix has been doing. 8 of their last 9 they've covered, and they're winning these games by 9 points or more. I think first half number here was 7.5. So, like I said, I can't argue any of those plays, but that's just some support for Phoenix first half. I think Sacramento first half last 9 games was 7-2 over the total, including, and this number is 120. Those 7 overs are all over 120. So, another angle you could play.
Oh, I love it. So, in summary, the Phoenix game you're going to play. How are you playing it, Ski?
I'm definitely going to take the first half. I'm probably waiting a couple more hours to decide if I'm going to jump in on the full game too. But I like the first half probably the most.
And Sacramento's not known for their defensive prowess by any stretch of the imagination. That total's gone up 5 points from 229.5, 234.5, 235, 235 at Bet Online and Pinnacle right now. Do you roll with that wave and back the over too?
Well,
Yeah, you're good.
Phoenix, they've absolutely bullied weak defenses within the last 3 weeks, John. I mean, the point totals that Phoenix has put up against defenses that are comparable to this Sacramento, which is the worst in defensive efficiency in the NBA. But, I mean, I rattled all the numbers off before. I won't bore you with all the numbers now that they've scored. But they have produced some high point totals, which have resulted in some high game totals and sent a lot of these things over. So it's hard to argue it. It's really hard to dispute it, even though there's been such a big move. Go ahead, Ski. I didn't mean to cut you off, buddy.
No, it's all good. I don't want to get the ass into the line. I just think that if it's over or not for me, but it's hard for me to get involved right now at the current number.
Yeah, once they run like that,
This is one that I'm probably going to put on the radar for in-game betting. And Ski, here in the East Coast, we wake up at like 5 a.m. and 10:10 p.m. start time sometimes gets a little hard to make it through. But I think seriously with this 234, I've done well with in-game betting with totals, right around this area and higher. 240 and higher, for example. Mm-hmm. And what it implies that the scoring volatility is going to be greater the higher the total. So you're going to have opportunities here. And I was just jotting down some calculations here because I like going into the in-game prepared, at least with an idea where I'm going to be a buyer and a seller, meaning buy the over, sell the under. So we have a total right now of 235, let's say. So if we get out to a fast start, this will probably approach the 250 level. So I would bet under at 246.5, and then I'd come right back on the under at 224.5, and that gives me a really nice middle. And with these two teams, like Rob said, and you said too, Ski, Phoenix can put up points against bad defenses. You would expect the scoring to come right out of the gate, with just blazing fast. But then, things do calm down even with these bad defensive teams like Sacramento. So it has to happen in that order, though. It has to be I have to get that 246.5 first.
Yeah, last night you would have got that, John. Just a quick example, because the Washington-Sacramento game last night, they put up 130 first-half points, which means that total, game total pre-flop of 240, whatever it was, probably in-game in that first half was up around 260 or better, even, the way they were scoring points.
Yep.
And then the second half slowed down quite a bit, and, you would have had yourself a nice score there, nice middle. So, yeah, that's... to your point, that's what you're looking to get with these high totals. You're looking for a really fast start.
And it is contrarian to do the first leg under. And that's the whole key that I've found so far with this kind of stuff. It's like trading like I did on Wall Street. You get a big run and you want to sell into it. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Sometimes with the lines like Phoenix, if you like Phoenix, so you do 50% pre-flop, then you can stagger it any way you want. The way I've been doing it is, almost using a glorified standard deviation of a team's scoring average, which I know Joe Ranieri would love to have me on his show, and maybe I could have a one-on-one with him, and we could just sit and chat for about 5 hours on integrals and standard deviations, and I think that would be really good for him. But
He'll love it,
12.5. Yeah, at 12.5. If you like Phoenix, just a suggestion for people listening: 50% pre-flop at 12.5. And let's say Phoenix doesn't hit every single shot getting out of the gate, and Sacramento does. You're gonna have a chance probably to get Phoenix at maybe 7.5. And that is the level I would recommend. And then you do 25% at 7.5. You do another 25% at 4.5, and lo and behold, you have an average betting price somewhere around 8. Now, you're not averaging them because you can't average betting tickets, but then you have chances to win 2 of the 3, which would at least be break even instead of losing the whole bet. And that's another area in sports in-game betting that I think is just a tremendous opportunity. And you know what? If Phoenix loses this game and you don't cover the 4.5, you would have lost anyway betting them at 12.5. But at least you're giving yourself a chance to recover or do even better than just betting it before the game. All right, so I'll stop talking now, Ski.
No, that makes sense. I was listening.
And the reverse situation of that yesterday, John, was the Milwaukee-Minnesota game that was played in the daytime in front of no fans. That total was 234 to start the game, right? And they got off to a slow start, only 43 first quarter points. And how in the heck are they going to get over 234? They only had 105 at the half. But that second half was crazy, 130 points, and they wind up skating over the game total by 1 point. But
it's amazing.
Again, a 43-point first quarter, you could have got in-game a very favorable overprice at that point.
Yep.
So they were trying to explain a lot of that on the Daily Wager broadcast last night of the Brooklyn-Philly game, how to wiggle your way out of bad situations if you're into one pre-flop, and all sorts of other things where you can manipulate in-game to your advantage. And like we're discussing here, that's just another one of them.
Yep. Yeah, and it's all based on numbers. It's not pulling them out of the air. It's not like we know the trainer in the locker room type of thing, right?
No, and I don't think the algorithm recognizes in-game injuries, all kinds of stuff where the bettor has an advantage.
Yeah, live is a really good way. When I first started, I did a show that was like partially breaking down games in the beginning, but as soon as the games were off, like 4 o'clock Pacific, we would start live betting the games as they're going.
Yep.
So I love that.
And lastly, I've heard of this happening, and I'm sure it does. The beginners, they bet 100% pre-flop, then they use the in-game to double up. And just, do yourself a favor and don't do that. It's just, even if you're worth $10 million, it's not worth it, because you're just adding more misery to your betting game by doing that. And then, what happens if it goes against you again? You're going to double up again?
Yeah.
That's a recipe for disaster. You may get away with it a couple times and feel good about yourself and feel pretty smart, but like I said, the betting guys have a way of really humbling you pretty quick. If Tony Finn was here, this panel of 4 would have over 100 years of pro betting experience, which can't really be found too many places.
Listen, there's nights on Twitter where I feel like I'm a 17-year-old just beginning to bet the way I get slammed around. So.
I'm probably not contributing enough in the amount of experience.
Well, you're still contributing, though.
Yeah, I'm contributing.
It's clearly. Finn accounts for how much? 60.
I forget that I forget I'm 28 now, actually. So I've been doing this for like maybe 6 or 7 years now.
Makes you feel old, doesn't it?
A little bit.
That's so funny. My oldest guys just turned 28 in February. So my oldest son is 28, and you would think he's 98 the way he's acting. Oh my God, I'm almost 30. Oh, dude, you're 28. I'll trade places with you right now. So funny. But it really doesn't matter how old you are. I mean, we probably just lived through that many more losses, Ski. That's all.
Hey, the NBA was better back then than it is right now.
Yeah, and I hate to always say that, because then people think you're like the old guy. But, it was a little bit, it wasn't as free as it is right now. But I think, real quick, John, I know you got to be somewhere, but real quick, Ski had brought up a point on Twitter the other day about how the compressed schedule is just,
Yep.
I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it's made a difference here this year. It's just a different type of handicapping year, and it looks like because guys are fatigued or whatever, we're seeing a couple more injuries. We're seeing a lot less defense. I see a lot of guys complaining about, oh my God, these totals are so high now and whatnot. But odds makers have to do what they have to do, because these guys are playing offensive basketball right now. We'll see if it straightens itself out in the playoffs. I think it probably will. But this compressed schedule has done no favors to the guys playing the game. And to, I know we're all not allowed in arenas at full capacity yet, but for people who have actually paid money to go to some of these games, and you show up and you get nobody, you get the entire reserve unit, and NBA tickets are not cheap. So, I guess the NBA is lucky that they don't have full arenas, because they'd have a lot more complaints.
I guess Staples is going to have people in tonight, I guess, right? Well, tomorrow. Is that true?
Yeah, they do. They do.
Yeah, what's the percentage?
25, I think.
Let's see. 25% of a closed stadium can make a lot of noise.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And just hearing that is going to make us feel normal. Watching it on TV and you hear the crowd, those are the sounds we want to hear.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
I think in playoffs it'll be a lot better.
Yeah,
I think you're right. And it may go, we'll have to see. My initial thought is like, remember in the NCAA tournament, everything went under. And a lot of the regular season games for some of those teams went over. And that could be the trend here again in the NBA, but too early to tell right now.
Yeah, playoffs bring a sense of urgency, which brings out defense.
Yep. And slower, more half-court sets that are designed to get to that point where making the extra pass is the difference between a made shot and a missed shot.
Watching an Indiana game nowadays like watching a layup drill. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
The Pacers. I mean, talk about totals that run. They can't run high enough right now.
I agree.
You get 25 points of leeway with the Pacers over. So.
Yep.
They're like clockwork right now. As long as Miles Turner is out.
Keep them out.
Yep.
Keep them out. Yeah, they're one of those teams in one of those situations. And before Karl Anthony Towns took the last couple of days off for his mom, Minnesota was the same thing. And in fact, they did get over yesterday. Now that I say that, 235. So even without him, they found a way.
Yep. Well, guys, we'll wrap it up here and we'll sign off the show. But I think recapping it, we have like best bets for the show. I like Milwaukee Bucks. You guys, we all liked Oakland. Ski likes Oakland first 5 and possibly full game. He's going to think about it for a couple hours because he can. And then first half Phoenix, he also likes. I like playing the in game as I described. Nothing on the total before the game starts, and then 246.5 and 224.5 is what I said, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So, and it has to be the under first. In other words, it has to get to 246.5. If it goes the other way, then there's I'm not doing it that direction because that's where it can go the wrong way. So anyway, Ski, thanks for showing up and being part of this. Rob always. And we'll see you guys in the chat room tomorrow about 4:30. And we will have real beer in the cans. It's not going to be fake. At least if I'm singing for myself.
A real Friday happy hour.
Yeah, tomorrow's actually Friday.
Yep. Yeah.
Be perfect.
And it's Manny's Pub. And what could be better?
I got to.
So anyway, for Rob, Veno, Ski Profit, myself, and the Predictive Playbook, may all the wins be yours.